So, good evening, my juicy pancakes. This is the Candid show brought here by host Shriram and Krishna with me as my co-host today. So today we are talking about something which we've wanted to talk about a week or so back, right? I had this topic in my mind, but I kind of cancelled it, or I didn't want to speak more about it just because the topic was not discussable much, or rather, I guess we didn't want to talk about it. But I feel like this is something which everybody must know about, right? Because especially to the Indian community, or I guess this is kind of a talk which everybody must have, or the kind of parents must have with their kids. So today I'll be talking about the idea of consent. So for starters, what does consent actually mean? Consent is very simple. It's actually nothing. It's just asking for permission or any sort of voluntary or any sort of vocal response or acceptance to any sort of sexual activity. That's pretty much it. That's consent. So why do you need to talk about it, right? So that is the very first question which comes to everybody's mind, because from a first glance perspective, this might seem as if everybody might know about it, right? Because it is just a common sense, like a human decency, to ask for consent or ask for permission in anything you do. So why is the fact that we need to talk about it now? So the fact arises that a lot of Indian teenagers, or generally in Indian society, especially in the Indian community, we have a lot of rape cases every day, right? And thinking about what is the cause for this, right? Because it is very important that we have to identify why certain things happen in the society. So I think one of the fundamental reasons, or one of the most important reasons as to why these things happen, is because we don't have sex education. None of us have no idea what sex education actually means, because in Western countries, they have this in their actual curriculum, and even though if they do not have it, parents are free to have open conversations with their children, and this is a topic which a lot of people talk about. It isn't like some sort of a taboo like how it is in India right now. So talking about consent actually helps a lot. And why do you ask? Because this actually tells the person or tells the kid that there is a basic need for you to ask for permission in whatever you do. Because how I look at consent is that you are entering into someone's territory. When you have sexual contact with somebody or sexual intercourse with anybody, you are entering into their territory. That is just like their region. So if you want to enter into their region, you must have permission. You must ask permission. This seems like basic human decency and like fundamental common sense, but not a lot of people have it. So why do you think so? So like, what might be the reason, Krishna? Because we are currently very evolved as Indian society. We have a lot of these, a lot of people have started to open up, especially on Instagram. We have a lot of these influencers openly talk about the idea of consent and the way by which women can, like, what do you say, like even in the court process and stuff like that. So how do you think like the idea of consent can be told to the kid or somebody, or how do you think parents or anybody should approach the idea of consent when they are first talking about it to a child or anybody?
So basically, talking about consent, it all boils down to the fact that, as you told, teaching our youngsters at the right time, at the right age, about sexual education. So like, as you told, all these abroad countries have this in their curriculum. So to discuss about the sexual education. So in our country, it is seen as more like a taboo. So like, if you go on, if you go and discuss about sexual consent and any other thing for that reason, for including sex education or anything else, so like they see it as something that must be avoided, or like that must not be talked about. True. So that is the real problem that we are facing. And so coming to sexual consent is asking permission. So like, as you told, asking permission is the basic thing that we have to do. Not because he or she is your wife or husband, or even maybe your girlfriend, or
anybody.
Anyone for that matter. You have to have this basic quality of asking a permission before you do anything of that sort. So basically, sexual consent is about that. So even if you know a person, so like, even if it may be your wife or your your girlfriend or anyone you may know, even before you are having a sexual activity, so like before that, you have to ask a genuine consent about whether are you okay with this. So by that you will know whether they want or they refuse to do so. So someone, at the extremes, we know that if someone kind of doesn't ask for consent or doesn't respect others' opinion, so that becomes rape, what is called as sexual assault. True.
So as Krishna told, consent is it's fundamental to any sort of activity, right? Like, I don't think this needs to be like considered only within the spectrum of sexual intercourse or anything like that, because for any reason you generally ask consent or permission. So now I want to move into this idea as to why don't, or why, like, what is the idea of what is the thought process behind a rapist or anybody who thinks of women like this way? So like they have this common objection that women are objects, right? Because I think that's where the root of rape actually happens, is that they basically consider women as objects. So if it is object, they can use it how much ever they please. So that's the issue there. And why do you think this objectification happens? In my opinion, porn is the single most reason why this happens. So let me tell you why. Because like everybody watches porn, right? I don't think there is nothing to hide behind that. Like porn creates this
Sexual urge,
basically creates this kind of atmosphere, right? Because all of the porn shoots and all of the movies, there's this guy who he does whatever he wants, and it all feels forced, right? Like when you watch it for the first time, you might feel kind of uncomfortable, but since you keep watching it over and over time, you don't seem to notice it. But I feel like this is the problem. This is the actual problem, because in porn, in cases of porn, there is no consent or anything like that. Even though obviously it is fake and they're just shooting for the reasons of pornography films, etc. If in those cases there might be some sort of sexual consent, if they actually verbally asked it in those cases, I feel like Indian men or some men in the society might have an idea as to what consent means. Because the issue is that we've never seen consent anywhere. Like they don't even know if something like that exists. So if you don't know something like that exists, why would you even think you would need to ask consent? So I feel like porn is the number one reason, and obviously it does destroy your whole life, right?
Porn is the main reason behind rape, and the problem about what we are discussing today is about most of the people don't realize that they see that if a stranger rapes a girl or a woman, so like they term it as rape, but if he is a husband or a boyfriend, so like they don't term it as rape. So like
True.
yeah, they say there are some problems internally with them, so like that is also coming under rape, because you are not obeying the permission, or like you're not asking a consent with your partner. So like it may be a man or it may be a woman. So like that is the main reason that people must understand that even if she is your wife, or even if she is your girlfriend, basic, even if she is a prostitute, right? So like
There is a human decency.
yeah, there is a decency, or like there is something called consent that must come to every man's mind before involving in any kind of sexual activity.
True.
So like that is the thing I see. So like sexual consent is something that is that needs to be this is something very basic.
It should be normalized, right?
Yeah, it should be normalized. It's not something that we should sit and talk about.
Exactly.
So that is something I see. So this is common, general human basics. So we have to have this basic quality of whether asking asking permission for anything, not only in sex, but also on any kind of a job or any kind of a thing you kind of involve with other people, right? So like you have to have a consent. So like that is the one thing that will create a respect on you. So
True.
if your wife or if she is a girlfriend, if you don't obey their consent, or like if you don't obey their opinion, right, and you kind of think you kind of are dominating over them. So like you kind of not giving respect for them. So like there is no point in the relationship, I see.
Yeah, obviously relationship is all about communication, right? But if there is no sort of any communication, I guess it is not even a relationship if it is that sort of way where there is no sort of communication between the two people. So I don't think there's anything else to talk about, because I think I just wanted to do this.
Something basic.
Yeah, I just wanted to, like, obviously I had this idea of making it as a whole series where I talk about all sorts of things related to sex education, like various things which we must know about or which people may not know about, I guess. So this is, I don't know how that idea is going to pan out, but I'll probably the future only is going to tell what I want to do. But this is just a short kind of a discussion which I wanted to have to educate certain people who might not know what consent means, I guess. So that should be the end of this video, I guess. And regarding the YouTube side of things, if you have any sort of content criticism or any sort of comments, please leave it in the YouTube comment section down below. Regarding Anchor and Spotify, make sure you follow us on Spotify again. And there we also have a group on Clubhouse, which probably no one uses anymore. I don't think there's any point in openly telling to have a link. But anyway, we do have a group on Clubhouse. If you want, you can join it. The link is in the description. And I guess that's pretty much it. So thank you so much.